Hello and welcome or welcome back to another video. I am so glad you're here. On this channel, I talk about news, controversies, and drama on the bookish side of the internet, and I certainly hope you will stick around. So today I'm covering a controversy that actually began over a year ago in June 2024, and I want to start by giving fair warning that I will be playing quite a few TikToks in this video. Some of you have told me you're not fans of that, but I think it's important to tell my story, and it's the biggest platform of today's subjects. So you may have already heard about this if you follow general book drama, but if you haven't, buckle up. These gentlemen are Paul and Matthew Castle, a married couple with a huge social media following of over 7 million across all platforms. Matthew is a classical violinist, and Paul is a children's book writer and illustrator. Paul has an untreatable eye disease called retinitis pigmentosa, which has caused him to lose 90% of his vision, and it's a huge part of what their platform is based around. Paul actually has a guide dog named Mr. Maple, who's also a big part of their content. So it sounds wholesome and adorable, right? And, to a certain extent it is. But there's so much more to their story. So the first thing I want to share is not necessarily important to the story, but I think it shows what ends up being a pattern later on. So I watched a clip from a podcast they were featured on where they're asked how they met. And Matthew had not long before they met left the IBLP fundamentalist cult, which is a whole story on its own. But they met online, and Paul was quick to say that, and as soon as I mentioned my blindness, he ghosted me. This led to laughter and joking around, but the next thing we find out is that he didn't actually ghost Paul. He simply went out with a friend and then didn't respond until the next morning. Again, on its own, not a big deal, but it kind of shows the way Paul likes to sensationalize stories for entertainment and, as you'll see later on, personal gain. So looking at their older content, they really do seem like they would be a fun account to follow. They post a lot to educate others on blindness and how it impacts both of their lives, and obviously cute dog content. Matthew does a lot of videos where he pranks Paul, and it's always having to do with his blindness and generally following the format of seeing how long it takes my blind husband to notice something, see whatever. And at first, I kind of felt uncomfortable, but, if Paul's okay with it, I guess I am too, and he has said he is. So, like I said before, most of their content focuses on Paul's blindness, especially related to his art and documenting his journey of self-publishing his children's books. And this really took center stage in June 2023 when he opened up for pre-orders for his book, The Pengrooms. He also had plushies of the characters produced. So yes, he opened up pre-orders June 2023, and then this is where he was in October 2023.
We are currently buried in books and fulfilling orders. First of all, thank you everybody. We have completely sold out. Crazy, I know, but we will be getting more books in December, so you can pre-order those now. Mr. Maple is super excited because he is helping us pack and ship all of these orders. You guys, this is beyond belief, and I appreciate your patience at this time because I'm literally signing thousands of these books. Maple, I have to work, buddy.
Yeah, okay. Back to signing books, Paul. Oh, Maple's got another plushie.
Oh, Maple, no, that's not for you.
And then the caption on this says, "We thought we had enough books to last a year, but you sold us out in 4 days. Books and plushies return in December. Pre-orders start today." So clearly he is doing great. He even says they've sold thousands of copies, and that's awesome. We love a gay penguin. Forgot to mention, the book is about a gay penguin couple, and they adopt a baby. Seems cute. In December, we can see he's signing copies of the sequel to Pengrooms, which is called The Secret Ingredient. So again, things seem to be going pretty well. And after finding all this success selling his book on TikTok Shop, can you guess what he did next? Seriously, try to guess. If your guess was open up a Kickstarter, you'd be right. Adoroscopes, a cosmically cute guide to the zodiac, raised $240,145 with tiers ranging from $9 to $10,000. Yes, 10,000. For the record, no one backed that tier, but I still feel like I need to talk about it. So it says, VIP invitation to a celebration day with Paul Castle, an invitation to the Adoroscope celebration dinner, your name in the book, 2 signed hardback copies of the Adoroscopes book, 2 Kickstarter only Little Leo plushies, and a signed 12 by 9-inch Kickstarter only Adoroscopes poster. Celebration Day and dinner will be in Seattle. Backer is responsible for all travel. Shipping will be charged after the campaign is completed. So it's actually more than $10,000 depending on where you live, since you have to pay your own way for the celebration day and dinner. So once the campaign ended, he was more or less updating like once a month or so, and no one seemed upset by the lack of communication at that point. I do want to add that this was actually his 4th Kickstarter, and he actually has one currently in the process of being shipped out. None of the comments on any of those seem to be too critical, although they all have a few of them saying they never received their rewards. It's a pretty small number though. But that's not so much the case with Adoroscopes, and there actually are some comments on the newest one that's currently being sent out that they would have liked to back this, but since others didn't get the rewards on a previous project, then they didn't want to. So this is the last update on the project that was posted on November 12th, 2024. Thank you. Hello friends, we're thrilled to announce that Adoroscopes has officially shipped and the campaign has concluded. Thanks to your incredible support, this campaign has been a tremendous success, and we couldn't be more grateful. It's been a joy bringing this project to life, and knowing it's now in your hands makes it all worth it. We hope you're as delighted with your rewards as we are to have shared this journey with you. We've already started to see wonderful reviews and photos pop up on Instagram, TikTok, Amazon, and Goodreads, and we couldn't be more excited by your reactions. Thank you for believing in this project and for making it such a memorable experience. Wishing you all the happiest of holidays and a magical season ahead. And as recently as 25 days ago, backers are commenting that they never got their rewards. So we have this one that says, it's been almost a year and I haven't received anything. I feel like I was scammed and I'm really hoping that isn't true. I was so excited for this. 1 month ago, sent a message a few days ago and no response, hoping they see it soon so I can get my plushie and book. I never got my book or plushie, sent a message to the creator and no response, in a little sad crying guy. Did not get my book or plushie either, would love to still get them, probably just a shipping issue, but would love to get it resolved. To anyone, this was 3 months ago, to anyone that has not received their book, message the campaign on Kickstarter. Like me, you may have missed the message that was sent out way back in October for instructions on how to receive your items. That was my bad, not Paul's. When I messaged him, though, he helped me get it taken care of, and now we have our book and plush, and they look great. So, you know, that clearly isn't working if they're not checking their messages on Kickstarter or anywhere else, because, you know, these people beforehand still hadn't gotten anything. 5 months out, I haven't received my book or plushie, but in the update they said they finished sending everyone's out. I'm confused. I feel like this creator scammed us. I have yet to receive my product. Extremely disappointed, Mr. Castle. Please make this right. I have reached out to you on TikTok, and you direct me to Kickstarter where my messages go unanswered. Still have yet to receive my book and plushie. When trying to find out how to receive it, I am getting sent in circles. Has anyone received theirs? This was like a sampling, you know. So, despite all of this, I don't think they're scammers. I didn't actually even know about their Kickstarters at all when I decided to make this video. I've like gotten to a point where if I'm writing about like someone shady, author, whatever, I'm like, just type their name in Google with like Kickstarter, and 9 times out of 10, they had a Kickstarter at some point. Going along with that, I think that they basically just got ahead of themselves. They started this Kickstarter, and as they are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, they like are just, things are slipping through the cracks, and they care less. But that's just my opinion. And I've seen a lot of people online using the word grifters, and I think that's like kind of how I'm feeling about it. So just based on what I've told you so far, you can see how successful these two are. So the big controversy started when this was posted on their TikTok. This is an email being read by a screen reader.
It seems the person who placed the order for your books wasn't entirely up to speed on our policies, and we have returned the boxes to you. Please see the tracking number below. While I think your book is very charming, it's just not something we can carry in our store at this time. I hope you understand. If you could process a refund once you receive the boxes, it would be greatly appreciated. We've taken care of the shipping cost. Be well. Tonya.
So to start with, he just so happens to have his camera set up and filming while he reads this email. Not impossible, but improbable. There is no explanation besides a misinformed employee gave you incorrect information and we can't carry your book at this time. Again, there's no further context, but in all caps at the top, banned.
Oh my god. This is the book. There's a bookstore that contacted me and they wanted to carry my book, The Secret Ingredient. They ordered 2 boxes.
And, you know, this is not impossible, but based on what I have seen, this is not how things generally work.
So it's like 100 books. And I was really excited because that's just like an author's dream. Yeah. To have their book in a bookstore.
Again, based on everything that I have researched and seen from others, that is an outrageous number. No bookstore would order 100 copies of a children's book unless there was going to be a signing event, and even then, it would have to be like a huge author, and 100 copies would still be a lot.
I know, I'm okay, buddy. It's okay. And I thought they knew what it was all about. It's called The Secret Ingredient, but it's about these 2 penguins, 2 male penguins who adopt a little baby. And in the book, they deliver cakes to different birthday parties to different types of families. You know, some with 2 moms, some with 2 dads. Here's the daddy sloth and the papa sloth one. Here, these are the seagull moms. These are the 2 moms. And at the end of the book, they get their own baby. They adopt a little baby. There they are. But I can only think of one reason they don't want to carry it. I honestly, when I saw the email, I thought that we're going to order more books. So now I'm going to get a refund to them instead. If you want the book, I sell it here. I wrote it, I illustrated it, I put a lot of my heart and soul and time and energy into it. I love it, I'm really proud of it. I don't know how to end this. I just wanted to share that.
The way he's so sad about how he now has to give a refund, but then he jumps directly to, but you can buy my book on TikTok Shop. Come on. But the pity marketing sure did work. I hardly use TikTok now, and I used it even less in the past, and even I heard about this whole thing when it happened. So here's a video about the situation a few days later.
It seems the person who placed the order for your books wasn't entirely up to speed on our policies, and we have returned the boxes to you.
The boxes have arrived. They also returned the penguin plushies. Wait, which way is up? I was supposed to do an in-person reading and signing, which is why they ordered so many books to begin with. So the person who initially reached out no longer works for the company, and that is when Tanya kind of entered the picture, and that was who sent that last email to me. I was pretty heartbroken, but the response from all of you has been so mind-blowing, so surreal. We sold out. These are immediately going back out. I'm about to sign these and ship them off. From the bottom of my heart, I cannot thank you enough. There are just too many messages to even keep up with, but I'm gonna try. Matthew, thankfully, is helping me. I'm not gonna have to use my screen reader to read every comment. I did fully refund the bookstore. The books are now going to people who really, really want them, and it just feels so right in my heart. Thank you for embracing these books. I truly believe stories like this are incredibly important, and clearly after this weekend, I know that I'm not alone. I will cherish this memory for a very long time. Thank you.
So he keeps saying banned, but no one banned his book. A store saying they won't be carrying your book isn't book banning. And clearly, his book doesn't even need to be sold in stores for them to make bank because he's selling out of the books and plushies. I'm gonna trim some of these TikToks down a little bit, but I will link to the full videos in the description if you'd like to see them and, you know, in their entirety. So in this video, he's answering a lot of questions that people had asked in the comments of his other videos.
The book ban drama continues. Okay, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, feel free to scroll on, but if you do, stick around because I know you have a lot of questions, so let's get down to business. Why did the bookstore order 100 copies of my book? So several weeks ago, a bookstore reached out and asked me to host an author reading and signing event. As most of you know, the event was canceled and all 100 of my books were returned. This would have been my third such event at a bookstore this year. My very first one was at a Barnes & Noble. It was a sold out event. They ordered 200 copies of my books. My second event was earlier this month at Charlie's Books. They pre-ordered 100 copies of the Pengrooms, 50 copies of The Secret Ingredient, and 100 of my Pengroom plushies. And finally, we have the most recent event where they pre-ordered 100 copies of The Secret Ingredient, a box of Pengroom plushies. Well, we all know how that story ended. In my case, these 100 copies were actually the smallest number ordered so far in my very, very limited experience. Question number 2, how does a book get banned? Book banning is a form of censorship that occurs when private individuals, government officials, or organizations remove books from libraries or bookstore shelves because they object to the content. In fact, bans like the one that I experienced are far more rampant and pernicious. Question 3, why would the bookstore order books without having read them or reviewed them first? So the person who originally reached out to organize this event was not only familiar with the book, she actually owned a copy and read it to her son on a weekly basis. So why then did the tables turn so quickly? So this is the point at which I think I know as much as you do. That is why I was so shocked, so surprised, so heartbroken in that original video. When my screen reader was reading my email to me, by the way, that was another common question. That was a screen reader reading my email. I am blind, so that's how I consume a lot of things, a lot of text on my screen. That was not the person who was arranging the event with me. That was a new person. And when I asked her about my original contact, all she told me was that person does not work here anymore. I don't know why. Was she fired? Did she quit? I have absolutely no idea. However, I did press Tanya to expand on the policies that I supposedly infringed upon, and she replied that my book's message did not align with the store. Obviously, that hurt. But Tanya has every right to make that decision, just as I have every right to create these stories. Okay, finally, and most importantly, I just want to thank the overwhelming majority of you who have been nothing but loving and supportive and incredible to me through this whole thing, purchasing my books and spreading the news and encouraging your friends to support stories like these. This is what it's all about.
So it's completely possible that this conversation about the content of the book actually happened. Personally, I don't believe that it did, simply because, like, wouldn't he have done a little background into the bookstore before agreeing to do a huge signing there? Also, why would this employee that reads it to her children all the time work at a store that disagrees with, I guess, gay marriage so much that they won't carry this book? A lot of stuff just doesn't add up. And additionally, even with him saying they wanted 100 copies because of a signing, others have pointed out that this being a self-published book where the store can't return unsold books back to the publisher, this is extremely unlikely to have happened. And we also don't really get a reason why the event was canceled. And I feel like if a bookstore was going so far as to put on a huge signing event for an author that had them ordering 100 books, whoever Tanya is would know what it's about. But I digress. Matthew and Paul's followers then started harassing and spamming multiple people named Tanya if they had anything to do with books on their social media. So that's fun. And granted, I know they didn't tell their people to go do that and they wouldn't name the actual bookstore, but I feel awful for all those Tanyas who had their names dragged through the mud. There is also the kind of conspiracy theory that none of this actually happened and they fabricated the entire thing. I'm not saying that that's what I believe, but it is something that's been said. So, in November, their next pity marketing campaign began with this video where Paul is crying and saying his book was review bombed on Amazon.
I wasn't gonna cry. My inclusive children's book is being review bombed on Amazon. Several one-star reviews have appeared under my book, The Secret Ingredient, on Amazon. These reviews are not critiquing the illustrations, the story, or the book quality. They are attacking the book for being inclusive. Words like vile, indoctrination, and over-representation are being used, plus a whole bunch of other words I won't even repeat here, simply because the book embraces diversity and kindness.
So this was actually quickly followed up by this video where Matthew tells him his book now has 2,000 5-star reviews.
Welcome home.
Hi.
Hey. Wait, how many reviews did your secret ingredient book have on Amazon? I can't remember.
Like 42.
Like 42?
Yeah.
Guess how many it has now? Over 2,000.
Matthew, you promised you would
2,000.
not prank me about my book again.
Oh, this is not a prank.
No.
Funny how that happened, huh? It's almost like people saw the video saying his book had some 1-star reviews and then did whatever the opposite of review bombing is. So the next 6 or so months are more of the same, talking about Paul's blindness and his art, Matthew's violin, more of their pranks, and the dog Maple. Until June.
A major bookstore chain told me that they wanted to carry my inclusive children's book, The Pengrooms, and told me that if I simply changed the name, that they could put it in the children's book section. That was all I had to do. I think I did what any independent author illustrator would do with an opportunity like that. I said, yeah, I can change the name of the book, and that is why my book is now called Pringle and Finn. A lot of you have noticed. Now, I guess it's suitable for children's book sections in big chain bookstores around the world. It wasn't an easy decision. I'm very attached to the name. And I don't agree. I do think that the children's book section needs a book called The Pengrooms, but I don't make those decisions. Unfortunately, a lot of you have been reaching out hoping to get your hands on the original Pengrooms, and it doesn't exist. We had to place a big brand new order, and we really could only afford to do the new title. Every time somebody reaches out and asks if they could get the original title, it breaks my heart because I really wish that it were available. I do have some good news though. That's because it is available for Pride Month. We have a special dust jacket edition of the Pengrooms. You will not find this in bookstores anywhere. It comes with a special Pengrooms origin story, tells you how this came to be, the result of the wedding invitations that I designed for my wedding with Matthew, and we even included the original wedding invitation photo there. And on the back flap has a picture of me, Matthew, and Mr. Maple. If you want the Pringle and Finn edition, of course, you can get that too. Collect them all. Most importantly, happy Pride, and thank you for continuing to support inclusive stories like the Pengrooms.
So, first of all, I once again speculate what he is saying is not the full story. Secondly, the audacity that a major chain bookstore would have to ask an author to change the title in order for them to carry it. Like, what? There are so many books out there. Doesn't it seem like they would just, like, not carry that book if that was true? Anyways, not to worry, because you can just buy this super cool Rainbow Special Edition for Pride Month directly from them. And you can buy it with a new name too. Are you sensing a pattern here? Pity me, but also here's this thing you could buy from me to make me feel better. The next video about his book comes a few weeks later, and it's just even more pity marketing. And I think this is where a lot of people started to get wind of this and started to raise some eyebrows.
The book deal is not going through. Oh God. If you've been following along, then you know a major bookstore chain offered to carry my inclusive children's books, The Pengrooms and The Secret Ingredient, but that they could only put The Pengrooms in their children's book section if we changed the title of the book. So we agreed to do it. We changed The Pengrooms to become Pringle and Finn. Same book, same message of inclusivity, just a brand new title. When we sold out of our copies of The Pengrooms, we placed another order, this time with the new title, Pringle and Finn. This was a much, much bigger order. As you can see behind me, these boxes go to the ceiling and they go back 6 rows. If we delayed ordering the quantity that this bookstore wanted, we might have missed the opportunity entirely. So it was definitely a big risk, one that I was really afraid to make, but it was one we had to make. So this is where things took a bit of an unexpected turn. The bookstore chain got us in touch with Ingram. Now this is the default system that all US bookstores use to place their book orders, and you have to be in this distribution system in order to get into most bookstores. So we got on a call with Ingram, and that's when they they told us that we did not qualify unless we have at least 10 book titles available. We only currently have 3 book titles. I have 2 more books coming out later this year, but that puts us 5 book titles away. And in the meantime, we're renting out 2 entire storage rooms to hold the Pringle and Finn books and the Secret Ingredient books. And right now, they have nowhere to go. The major bookstore chain has gone radio silent. I'm hoping that they will get back to us soon, but I guess I'm making this video in hopes that it finds the right people. Maybe you know somebody at Ingram who could help us out. Maybe there's something that we just haven't even thought of yet. But if you've already purchased a copy of my book, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means so much. The feedback, the videos you've been making, the 5-star reviews. It's why I wrote the books. It's I promise I'm not crying because I'm sad. I'm crying because I'm so happy. This has been the most incredible journey. And I know that sometimes it sounds stressful. Some of the things that I've gone through haven't been easy, but it's so been worth it. And I just know in my heart, all of this is going to work out. It's going to be totally fine. I'm just really grateful. I'm happy. These are happy tears, I promise. Thank you so much. And happy Pride.
So this is an unbelievable amount of books if they truly are filled with books, which I highly doubt they are, because it would be extremely dangerous to have these boxes stacked in this way. And on top of that, he says they go 6 rows deep and they have 2 storage units with more books. Bad decision, my dude. Like, really a terrible one. That aside, if you took what he said at face value, you'd probably feel really bad for him, as is his goal. But folks who work in publishing were quick to call him out. A Substack post by Ash Wren helped me understand what was really going on here, so I'm going to read part of her article. It will also be linked down below so you can read the whole thing. But many others challenged what Castle said, myself included, because that's not how bookstores work. A bookstore would not ask an author to change their title, and they'd be very unlikely to order directly from the author. Like, very unlikely. Independently published authors like Castle have 2 options. They can approach individual bookstores, not a chain, and place books on consignment with them, a very manual process, or they can work through a distributor like Ingram who will do that for them. So if you knew how publishing worked, this story was not adding up. But as it turns out, Castle wasn't just speaking as an indie author, he was speaking as a micro publisher himself, which his audience doesn't understand. In this case, Paul has his own publishing house, a micro press called Paul Castle Studio. He represents his own 3 titles, and because Ingram Content Group requires publishers to have 10 titles and other boxes they must check, Paul Castle Studio, the publisher, does not currently meet the criteria for being included in the distributor giant's services. So when Castle was upset in his video about the deal with the bookstore not going through, his audience did not have all the information. They naturally thought he'd been slighted as a gay disabled author because that's what he led them to believe. The reality was the bookstore chain could not work with him because, as a publisher, Castle was not in the system the bookstore orders from, Ingram. Imagine if Scholastic made a TikTok crying that the Hunger Games didn't picked up by a real retail chain, or if Anchor Books wept publicly over The Handmaid's Tale not being stocked at Barnes & Noble. It would be bizarre. We would think that's strange. Castle was not being discriminated against. He was misrepresenting basic, simple, everyday business. He's not a struggling indie author. He's a too small publisher. A lot of his viewers won't realize because they don't work in publishing. What's worse is, Castle is literally banking on their not knowing. They see a queer disabled man trying to share his story. When Castle adds falsehoods about being discriminated against, people just want to help. They want to support, they want to buy the book. They feel pity, and that's exactly the point. So yeah, at this point, people really started to see what was happening here once publishing insiders started sharing how operations actually go. There were so many comments calling him out that he ended up making a whole video addressing what folks were saying. And I'm gonna be honest, a lot of it sounds like he's backtracking and being like, well, actually, because I think we can agree that like his story didn't make a whole lot of sense. This is just part of the video. Again, it'll be linked if you want to watch the whole thing.
We run a business. We have our own publishing company. I have 3 books. Full stop. Lay down. I'm trying to talk to everybody. Oh my goodness. So I have 3 books currently, and I have 2 more on the way. One is actually about my guide dog, Mr. Maple, and I have plans for many, many more. We have big dreams, don't we? I have really big goals and ambitions, and I really do see us expanding more and more, and I'm very excited about that, especially with the possibility of taking on other writers and expanding our publishing enterprise. And that is why it was important we have the 10 titles, because we aren't looking into Ingram Spark.
Doesn't want to work with Spark. Look at that standstill that he created again.
Ingram Spark is a print-on-demand service. It's an expensive route, and if you're trying to build a business the way that Matthew and I are, it's not the most cost-effective route. And that's why we knew we had to get into the wholesale distribution system, and that was our plan.
If this major bookstore chain did this to you, drop the name. We'll wait. Drop the name.
The major bookstore chain, which I will reveal the name of once we get into it, did not give us a specific number to order. They simply told us they wanted the books in their stores, but I still believe that we made the right decision. We are now working with Ingram to get into their wholesale distribution pipeline, and it all looks like it's going to work out.
So he's basically saying, yeah, you guys are right for normal books, but we are special. So things are different for us, and you just don't understand. Which, I don't know, I suppose could be possible, but hang tight because we'll get there. So what's next? Paul puts out a call to other indie authors of children's books to join his micropress. He expresses how important it is to uplift diverse voices and is accepting submissions. That's pretty much the entire video, so I'm not going to play it, but here are some of the comments. So Alexandria Bellaflor, who's actually a romance author, writes, "Writers watching this, from the bottom of my heart, I am begging you to do your research before you send anyone your manuscript. Please do not enter a publishing agreement with any kind without having all the facts." Someone says this, "I can't tell if this is genuine or fear-mongering. Would you care to elaborate what the concern is? They can steal your work, change a few names and call it theirs, or worse, feed it into AI to do it for them." Imagine a publishing company saying, "Well, yeah, we have difficulty selling one book and have problems every 6 months, but we can definitely sell yours." And most of the other people in the comments are just people like pitching their children's books. Something that I didn't really mention at any other point, but that I'm finding to be kind of, now that I'm laying it all out, reminds me a little bit of Christina K, how they go from the pitty marketing, like, oh my gosh, like nobody wants my book, I'm so sad, to like, oh my God, I'm the best book writer ever, you sold me out of these books. But it just keeps happening. Same vibes? Anyone? Let me know if you think that too. A little bit. Okay, so enter Emily from Ingram Spark. As mentioned, this is the branch of Ingram for self-published authors using print-on-demand services. And a lot of indies have mentioned that, like, overall, like, pretty good experiences. It's a major corporation, you know? Emily works in this branch of the company, and she kind of became a main character in this round of drama. So she posted this on June 21st. "I've had so many people messaging me about Matthew and Paul's video about Ingram, and I want to make it very clear that the issue is not that it's LGBT content. They are a small publisher who don't qualify for wholesale and don't want to use Ingram Spark. We're aware of the issue and are talking with our distribution branch to see if there's anything to do. I'm the first to admit Ingram has its problems, but one of the things I love about it is how inclusive and diverse it is. When all the companies started denouncing DEI policies, Ingram made it very clear to its employees that they were not. We do the work when it comes to uplifting queer and marginalized authors, which is why we're still trying to help even though they don't meet the sales criteria." So in an attempt to get the full story, because something ain't adding up, Emily contacted her colleague in the wholesale department. So she says, "I talked to some folks at Ingram Wholesale. Matthew and Paul contacted them in 2024 and were turned down then with some referrals to Spark or different publishers. Has not contacted us since, and as far as they knew, no exception is being made because the associated fees would drown them. So pretty much they've been sitting on stock and we're just wanting to sell through it while putting pressure on a big company, not to mention charging other authors to publish their books. I knew something was not right in their last video because nobody would be working on a weekend to call them. Instead, our manager at Ingram Spark called Matthew, but he wasn't interested in our services. So she said she was sorry that no one had reached out and would contact wholesale to follow up. And even if they were, wholesale does not equal bookstore placement. It's the publisher's job to market and sell their book, not Ingram's. They just do the warehousing and fulfillment, and I guarantee M&P did not realize that. Someone replied and said, I'm in my 21st year in the book industry, and I am so tired of people not doing their homework and then blaming it on the industry and standards. I mean, there's loads to criticize in the industry, more than enough, but this is not it. It makes me wonder if the title change is an effort to create demand for the original so they can sell their own stock. But most people, at least a lot of people, were quick to come to their defense and try to discredit what Emily was saying. Emily, call it quits. You're a nobody who got turned down. They have a legit platform, are lovely people, and would never use their platform to randomly call people out because they are butthurt like you are. They are onto bigger and better things, and I suggest you do the same. You are literally on this post because they called Emily out. He posted today acknowledging that this isn't how publishing usually works and that they are trying to disrupt the system. Okay, so you know you're trying to circumvent the usual channels, and then when it didn't work, you went online and cried about it like you are being unfairly targeted or that it was some sort of gotcha moment from Ingram. They are twisting the narrative for sympathy, and their followers are buying it because they don't know how publishing works. This refers to Paul's addressing the controversy video, where he stitched a video of Emily explaining why their story didn't make sense. I cut some of it out. Sorry. There are 3 sides to every story. Their perspective, your perspective, and then there's the truth without emotion. I like M&P. They are good people. And using a work account to attack an author is wholly unprofessional of you. It would have been better for you to approach them behind closed doors, no matter what you think they've done to you. Jessica, listen to the industry professionals. Ask yourself why those guys have deleted every author, bookseller, agent, and publisher employee who has tried to explain to people how this works. And then ask yourself why you are holding an industry person trying to educate you to a higher standard than the guys who pulled this exact same scam a year ago and got innocent booksellers caught in the crossfire of their harassment mob of fans, like you. I'm sorry, but this part cracked me up. First of all, no need to call me Jessica. Even though that's clearly her name? It's condescending, and you don't know me. Well, shoot. Second, I said there are 3 sides to a story. Clearly that means I don't believe the perspective of either side entirely. Third, I don't even know what is happening. I just thought it was in bad taste to be posting with her company name. I do follow them on Insta, but mostly use threads where their content doesn't come up so much. I didn't harass anybody. Get off your high horse, dude. You literally called fact-checking someone attacking. That is a harassment tactic. It's what M&P want you to do for them. Just like the last time they did this, and the time before that. For you to comment this and project attacks only to backtrack and say you don't know what's going on, maybe you should catch up before saying industry professionals are attacking anyone. So there are a ton of other comments, both berating Emily for daring to call out these harmless, beautiful men, and people backing her up and thanking her for clarifying what is actually going on. But they responded by reposting her thread and writing this. Not sure why Emily is making things up about us. Super disheartening. She is from the indie side of Ingram. We are working with our contacts on the wholesale side right now. We previously had a nice chat with Emily, but she is now making some pretty unprofessional claims about us and jumping to strange conclusions. I would hate for there to be bad blood, Emily. We really liked you, and you are clearly passionate about the indie experience. Yeah, so that is vaguely threatening, and that post is now deleted, but one of these angels in the comments had it screenshotted and posted it in the comments of Emily's next thread. Y'all, I just woke up from a nap. I sent one email saying I'd send their video to the wholesale team. We work in the same building just down the hall, and I did. And I followed up again with them this morning, and that's what they told me. But misrepresenting the full situation and sending your audience after someone who tried to help you, not cool. And this is the person who had it. For anyone who wants to read the deleted post, I literally have no idea what's going on here, but damn if this deleted post doesn't read like a thinly veiled threat instead of just providing evidence to the contrary and offering to clear things up in an effort to maintain a good relationship. So to recap, Emily has 3,200 followers on Threads, and she had far less when all this happened, like around 500, I think. Paul and Matthew have millions upon millions. There's such a small number of people that would have even seen her post, And yet they decided to quote her and then send their millions of followers to attack her, whether or not they intended to. It's just gross. And Emily literally just shared information she was given in order to clear up confusion of others, and they are calling her a liar. Cute. And here's some of the threatening comments from their followers that they liked, but now it has been deleted since the post was deleted. They liked more similar comments, but I don't have screenshots of the rest. I just love the people that just screenshot everything, just in case. I don't understand her agenda here. If she works for them, it's very unprofessional. If she doesn't work for them, it's stalker behavior. Unless she can prove any of her claims, it's slander. She is extremely unprofessional. We love you. Slander? Slander? What did she say? Oh boy. She's clearly clout chasing and starting drama for attention. I want to hear from the company. I wonder how they feel about her speaking on behalf of the business. So these people are clearly misguided because Emily didn't do anything wrong, and all they are hearing is Paul's pretending to be hurt and, in his mind, exposing her lies. It's truly mind-boggling what this turned into simply because Emily explained what was going on. I know there's a chance you could be right and they could be faking, but I also know there's a chance they might not be. I'm not going to argue either way because I'm not 100% sure. What I am going to say is that your post was a terrible idea. And here's why. You might think you're doing a good thing when you try and expose someone who you believe is lying. But when you do that, others will join in and attack them. And what if you're wrong and you've just risked attacking an honest person? And then she posts a screenshot of a comment that someone left, I guess, on one of their videos, but apparently, like, someone took her own life because lies were spread about her, and this person doesn't understand why people would spread lies, whatever. It's odd that you're holding Emily with her 800 followers, I guess it was 800, to this standard, but haven't considered the fact that the people she's talking about have over 4 million followers on their primary platform, and what they've done with their platform when they've made vague but awful accusations in the past. She comes back. I'm holding them all to that standard, not just Emily. I'm not saying Matthew and Paul are completely innocent because I'm not 100% sure either way. If they've also made accusations in the past, then my statement applies to them too. My statement was that we shouldn't be so quick to accuse others because there's a risk that you're accusing someone innocent who could be affected by being attacked for something they didn't do. This whole situation started a year ago with MMP doing a video accusing an unnamed bookstore of banning their book because the bookstore canceled an order. This is literally so stupid. Every word of what this person said could be flipped around, and I bet they wouldn't be saying the same things. She didn't, by any stretch of the imagination, attack them. And yet, by them saying what they said initially, she did get attacked. Luckily, she did end up getting a lot of support from the indie community and other people who had kind of become disenchanted with the grift. So she posts, "Wow, just wow. I have no words to say for the support and kindness except thank you. This was not on my bingo card for this year, and I wasn't expecting this to blow up as much as it did. But I'm okay and not in any trouble at work. My safety was their #1 priority. It went way above my head, so I honestly don't know what happened behind the scenes, but it was so strange to have so much attention on me. The indie community are the true disruptors, and I'm so honored to be a part of it." This person says, "Hey, just because we aren't Ingram's biggest fans at times, doesn't mean we won't fight for you. It's like a sibling thing. We can be mean to Ingram, but ain't no one being mean to Emily at Ingram while we are around." And then, what do you know? Once people started to come to her defense and started kind of like snapping back at Paul and Matthew, they issued an apology. "Emily, I would like to offer a sincere apology for anything that came out of that reposted message. I deleted it after realizing it got 100 likes. It was not my intent for any ill will or bad blood, as I said before, to further transpire. We were definitely disheartened by some of the inaccuracies in your posts, namely that we intend to charge writers to be published, but all of this could have been included in an email. As we said before, you are a wonderful advocate of indie authors." Wouldn't it be so nice if the story just ended there? But of course there's more. On June 29th, they posted a TikTok of them just looking at the computer with the following text on the screen. And there's music in the background, but I'm just gonna read it. "POV, you started a new inclusive book publishing company and asked your 7.4 million followers to send their children's book manuscripts, and now you're very slowly going through all 2,044 emails to find the one that will change the world." So, given all the trouble they've seemingly had getting their books in stores and distributed, it's wild that they think somehow they will be able to do this with other people's books. I get the whole thing of them needing the 10 titles to go, but they still have to market their books and get people to buy them, like, so that stores will want to buy their books from the distributor. Hopefully that makes sense. And people also had questions that I had. Just asking, what experience do you have being a publisher besides self-publishing? Will you be doing advances? How will you get their books into the market? What will the contracts be like? Will there be rights reversal? Do you have editors and cover designers on staff? How much will they pay to be published by you? Advances will be publishing standard, but royalties will be significantly higher. We have an excellent relationship with our printing factories, and we have staff and warehouse available. Yes, we have an editor, formerly at Macmillan, didn't even spell that right, and a design team. We also have a legal team who specialize in this industry. We've solidified global distribution, and we could not be more excited. Hope this answered all your burning questions. He can't even sell his own book and now is taking people's manuscripts? So, despite this video of them looking through these, how to submit manuscripts and submission guidelines are nowhere to be found. And of course, it's possible those things were previously on their website, but to date, they haven't posted at all about any acquisitions. And based on their entire brand, they absolutely would be sharing that if there was something to share. So everything calmed down for a while. Paul and Matthew continued to work with Ingram, but just a few days ago, as I'm filming this in October 2025, Paul goes back to his review bombing shtick.
This might be the most hated book in America right now. My children's book, The Secret Ingredient, was banned from a bookstore last year. Shortly after that was the subject of much hate and homophobia and volatility online, including an organized review bombing effort. Every day we receive negative comments about this book. Why do people hate this book so much? Well, the subject of it, the two penguins, are both male. They're adopting a baby. It's a book about family. It's a book about love. Yes, there are two slow dancing sloths, both of them male. There are lesbian seagulls. There are gay crabs. And if any of those things sound interesting to you, then you might actually be one of the people who likes this book. Then you can grab a copy by tapping the link right here in this video. And I just want to thank you for all the incredible support. Well, it's true. A lot of people hate this book. I think many, many, many more are discovering that they love it. My heart is so full.
So I feel pretty sure in saying that this is not the most hated book in the world. Like, no one that isn't on TikTok even knows what this book is. And he pointed it out in this one, but you may have noticed that every single pity marketing video has a link to their TikTok shop. At this point, I honestly don't even know why they need Ingram, why they're so invested in that. They are clearly selling plenty of books on their own. And then the pity marketing continues. This is just music and then him like looking around sadly. It says, when you realize the book rep helping you get your book launched into major bookstores is the same person who fueled a hate campaign and spread lies about you on Threads last June. So much to unpack here. So let's start with the hate campaign. I'm sorry, what? In what world is anything Emily did a hate campaign? And why is helping in quotation marks? She's literally doing her job, and to be honest, shouldn't he know the name of the rep he's working with? It feels like he knows this, and that feels weird. And once again, he puts all the blame on Emily for his book not being in stores. Once again, that's not the job of a distributor.
The very person who was spreading those lies about us online is handling my book. I need to share something important that's been happening with my books. It's complicated, but I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible. I am an indie author and illustrator, and over the last few years, my husband and I have built a tiny business selling my inclusive children's books online. I am gay and I am disabled, and these are themes that I include in all of my books because I feel like every child deserves to be represented in the books they read. We have a relationship with a factory that prints the books, we warehouse them, and we ship them all over the world. This has been a dream job. A dream come true because of you. Last year, we even hired our first full-time employee, a single mom who takes care of her two disabled sisters. She's amazing, and we could not do it without her. But the hardest part of growing has been one big hurdle, and that is getting our books into bookstores around the nation. Almost every bookstore in the country orders under a single system called Ingram Wholesale. We have have applied again and again, filled out all the paperwork, but we've been rejected every single time. And last June, after being rejected for the final time, I posted a tearful video right here explaining how crushed I was. And while many people supported us, some accused us of fabricating the whole thing, that this was all a scam.
Matthew and Paul are scammers.
To make matters worse, an employee at Ingram started posting about us online, suggesting that we'd made the whole thing up, that we hadn't talked to Ingram in years, and that we were trying to start a vanity press to charge other authors to print their books. We posted a message stating that what they were saying was completely untrue. Nevertheless, many people believed that employee because they are representing the largest book distribution company in the nation from a professional account. I even posted an apology to this employee. Don't ask me why. Matthew said I shouldn't have done it, but I'm Canadian. I wanted to walk away from the whole thing with grace. A few people online, however, suggested that we use Ingram Spark. It's a print-on-demand service. But when we looked into it, we realized we would barely break even if we were printing the books at the quality that we wanted. However, around that same time, an industry professional suggested that we give print-on-demand another try with a soft cover version of the book. No, it wouldn't take care of the stock behind me, but at least it would get the book into bookstores, and we could make about $1 per copy sold. We decided to move forward with that plan. Then, just the other day, we learned while on a Zoom call with our agent that the very person who was spreading those lies about us online is our sales representative. And it's devastating. I need to trust the people who are handling my book project. We're a tiny team doing everything by hand because we love what we do and we believe in these stories. I'm not going to cry. But if you want to support us, the very best way to do that is to buy directly from us, at least for now. Every purchase goes right into keeping the stream alive, paying our team, and making more books that celebrate love, kindness, and inclusivity. And thank you for listening and supporting a little indie author's big dream.
I truly am so curious why he is so gung-ho on his book being in stores. I know I just said that, but I just don't get it. All I can think of is it's a vanity thing and he wants to see his book on shelves, because why is he willing to go with a soft cover book, an idea which it seems like he isn't super into when he allegedly has hundreds of books right behind him that are definitely not empty boxes. And of course, the mob of supporters is back to pile on Emily for no reason. Here we go again. Yes, I've been helping his manager upload his books to Ingram Spark and have had no issues working with him because that's my job. They didn't need to keep reaching out to me with questions if it was such a problem until now. And then she reposted his video. Oh goody, can't wait to get doxxed, and posted a comment that they had made to someone on their video. We are gathering receipts and putting together a video that helped explain this a lot more. Thanks for your patience. This is a complicated situation. But the gasp I gusped when I made the connection. Emily, I hope your bosses are involved at this point to protect you and mitigate this vitriolic campaign. You don't deserve this for just doing your job. I love how his narrative is that you fueled a hate campaign against him, when in reality, he did that to you. For anybody wanting a smidge more context, I wrote an article about what happened in June, and that's the article I quoted earlier. I sincerely hope her bosses are paying attention and not letting them keep behaving this way towards her. All of this is just so ass backwards. So I have a ton of comments on his next video, so I will be interrupting this one.
When I say that this employee is fueling a hate campaign, it's because video after video after video cited this person's Threads posts as evidence that we were pulling a stunt. I believe in standing up for myself and I will not be intimidated. So let's talk about some of those lies. This employee at Ingram announced that we fabricated the story, that it was a stunt. They used...
Okay, so this wording is questionable. Fabricated, to me, implies malicious intent, which I do not think her threads were meant to be. She was simply explaining her professional expertise as someone in the industry. Also, this is like the textbook definition of a stunt. Sorry to break it to you, bud. Also, why exactly did he decide to blur her name this time?
The word stunt, because, to quote them, we had not been in contact with Ingram since 2024. Here is an email that we...
So this email literally proves nothing. They are really highlighting the date that they sent this email, but conveniently blocked out when this email by someone at Ingram was sent. I've had to do this many times to cover up information for videos, and it's very simple to just like not cover the date and time when it's relevant.
And here is a text message from our agent who advised us.
Sorry to interrupt again. This is my favorite piece of their evidence. I could text myself right now, crop it like this, and make it look like the exact same thing. I would be embarrassed to call this proof of anything.
To wait 90 days to hear back. During that 90-day period, our agent spoke to Ingram on the phone 3 separate times. And we even got Ingram on the phone, and I filmed it because I was so excited.
Like we just talked about, books should come out, books would come in, and then I can take it back to our team, and then I will email you back, see what the next steps are.
Thank you.
You could tell that she wanted to say, that they want it to happen.
So again, this absolutely could be someone from Ingram, but this could also be about a million other people. We have no clue if what they are saying is true, but based on past behavior, I'm not giving them the benefit of the doubt.
We were very hopeful this time, but we all know how that ended. I cannot for the life of me understand why this employee would suggest that we didn't have contact with Ingram. I don't know why they wanted so desperately for people not to believe us.
Well, I can clear that up for you, Paul. It's because you are making it out like Ingram personally rejected you because you are gay, when that is far from the truth. You also misled your followers in order to gain their sympathy and demonize this employee on your platforms because she explained what you were leaving out of the story. Hope that helps.
And what blows my mind about that is you have an employee at the largest book distribution corporation in America going online under a professional username and saying to people, I just walked down the hall and talked to them and they told me that this didn't happen. First of all, it did happen. It's well documented. But then to publicly post that, why not talk directly to us?
He can't be serious with this, right? Like, literally, that's what he's doing.
They have made up and concocted a story about us to discredit us. We are this little indie publishing company trying very hard to share inclusive stories with the world. We will get the message out there one way or another because we have an incredible army of support behind us, and I am so, so proud of that. If you want any of my books, they may not be in bookstores yet, but you can get them directly from me. You can cut out the middleman.
I'm gonna say this again. Why do you even want it in stores when this is easier for everyone?
Get them directly from us, and that is how you can support us. And thank you to the thousands and thousands of you who support us in our corner. It means everything.
I mean no shade at all, but why are they so worked up over this? They have 7 million followers. If they just ignored all of this, they would still have 7 million followers, because who outside of the book world would even be paying attention to a small account like Emily's? Again, no shade, but they've made this into a thing where it didn't need to be. Let's check out some of the comments on this video. Ingram Wholesale or Ingram Spark. The employee works at Spark, but claims to know everything happening at Wholesale. The Wholesale side is who we had on the phone. She never claimed to know everything, though, did she? That's a deceptive thing to say and a bit unprofessional on your part. Well, those are the only comments that aren't kissing their asses. These guys are serial comment deleters, and it seems like they are really on top of it the past few days when anyone comes around with a critical remark. They then posted the video on Threads with this ridiculous caption: "We will not be intimidated by a representative of the nation's largest book distribution corporation. As someone who grew up gay and disabled, I am accustomed to advocating for myself in the face of injustice. Thank you for your support through all of this." And here's some comments on Threads. "There was never any hate campaign. She very nicely explained the difference between Ingram Wholesale and Ingram Spark and why you didn't qualify for wholesale. You seem to want special treatment because you don't like the profit margins of print on demand, but most indie authors start out there. You could use your platform to bring light to the struggle that self-publishing authors go through starting out, rather than try to play victim and act as though you're being targeted and mistreated. To publicly post that, why not talk directly to us?" he says, while publicly posting instead of talking directly to her. $25 for a single children's book in this economy is wild. At least I did manage to grab this one screenshot before it was deleted, but they had another post to make. The employee has deleted everything from the week of their tirade, as close to an admission of guilt as I think we will get. Glad to know this will all be over soon. And they have someone that said, I hope you guys got screenshots. They don't need them. Nothing was deleted. I can see them right now. They just know you won't fact check. It was always over. You started it again. Being told information you don't like isn't being discriminated against. It's life. Not qualifying as a wholesale publishing company isn't discrimination. It's publishing standards. Someone else said, I see the original comments from the employee, do you? Yeah, not sure why he's saying it was deleted. Nothing is deleted, and that's not an admission of guilt. Exactly. She didn't. Everything she said is still there. I literally took my screenshots the same day this was posted, and I went back to look. My tinfoil hat conspiracy that probably isn't that far from the truth is that they made this post to send their followers over to her page where they won't find a tirade because she never had one, and make it look like she deleted something incriminating. And wouldn't you know, this post was deleted a few hours later, but not before limiting the comments and disabling quotes. But screenshots are forever, and since deleting posts is apparently an admission of guilt according to them, well, you see where I'm going with this. So as I was trying to finish up scripting this video, I went back over to Threads just to see if I wanted to add anything else, and they posted yet again. This one just says, you can't make lemonade without a few lemons. Welcome to my lemonade stand. Once again, limited replies. The video is so dumb, I don't even want to play it. But Paul does his whole pity party about how dare she spread these lies about him, and explains what a vanity press is and that his company isn't a vanity press, and he knows better because he's been offered book deals with 3 of the big 5 publishers. And the entire time he's talking about publishing and not distributing, and honestly, I am so tired of listening to him talk. One more thing, because I got up this morning to film, and of course there's another post. So at the top of the screen it says, am I flying to Germany because my gay penguin book was just published in German? Oh my Germany. You can pre-order the German translation for my children's book, Pringle and Finn, right now by visiting blah 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 website. And the answer to the question is, I wish. We are flying to a different, too secret location, but if German sales are good, you can bet your bratwurst will be there. P.S. I've linked the English version in this video if you haven't snagged it yet. So, you know, things are clearly very tough for him. That's what it usually means when someone flies to like a top secret location and has their book translated, right? Okay, one last point that I think is important to mention, and some of you may disagree with me here, but I believe that Paul is using his marginalized identity in order to enhance the narrative he wants. I have no doubt that it's very difficult to be a gay man with a disability. But these two are cis, white, conventionally attractive men with a lot of charm and what I think we can safely assume is a lot of money. Yet they resort to this pity marketing to pull at the heartstrings of people who are taken by this sob story of a blind man who is seemingly constantly discriminated against for his sexuality. I just think it's important to acknowledge that a person can be marginalized in some ways and extremely privileged in others. I could literally sit on this video for another few days and probably have another hour of content for you, but if and when, probably when, there are updates on this, you know I will be back with more. For now, I am exhausted and ready for a break from these two. But we have an indie author spotlight to do. Today I am spotlighting Toya Williams, who publishes under the name TJ Williams. They are a Black, autistic, non-binary, and queer femme from London, and they are about to debut their first novel. Tethered is a sapphic, soft sci-fi romance available on November 25th. It's for readers who love books about down bad lesbians and fat bisexual femmes, about healing through community, forgiving oneself, found family, and journeys across the stars. Absolutely love this premise. That's all I needed to know. Down in the description, I will link Toya's social media as well as where you can purchase their book if they sound like something you'd enjoy. Indie authors are a vital part of our bookish community, so try to support them however you can, even if that just means a follow on social media. If you'd like to be featured on my indie author featured segment, there is a form down in the description as well. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you would. I also do have a Patreon if you are interested in supporting me over there, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!